The air was thick with smoke. Sparks flew from broken wires. Metal pieces of the spaceship were scattered across the red sand. A woman slowly opened her eyes, coughing and gasping. Her name was Alara. She didn't remember the crash, only the sound of alarms and screaming. Now, everything was silent. Alara pulled herself out of the twisted wreckage. Blood ran down her forehead, and her leg was hurt. She looked up at the sky. It was dark purple, with two suns behind thick clouds. This was not Earth. This was not any place she had known. She tried the ship's communicator, but it was dead. The emergency beacon blinked once and then stopped. No signal, no help, no other survivors. She was alone on a dead, dry planet, or so she thought. As the day passed, Alara explored the area near the crash site. Strange plants moved when she walked near them. The wind carried a low humming sound. Like a distant whisper, she set up a small shelter using parts of the ship. The temperature dropped quickly, and she knew the night would be dangerous. At sunset, she heard something. A sound that didn't belong to the wind or the ship. It was a soft crunch of sand under feet. But not human feet. Slow, heavy steps moving closer, stopping, then moving again. Alara grabbed a metal rod, her hands shaking. She stood still, listening, her heart pounding. Then she saw it. A tall figure, half in shadow, stood just outside. The wreckage, its skin shimmered like silver blue glass. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dark. It had no weapons, and it didn't move toward her. They stared at each other, frozen in silence. Alara wanted to run. But something in the creature's eyes stopped her. There was no anger, no threat, only confusion and curiosity. She lowered the rod, but kept her distance. The alien tilted its head, as if studying her. Then slowly, it turned and walked away into the darkness. She didn't follow, not yet, that night. Alara couldn't sleep. She sat inside the shelter, watching the shadows outside. The strange footsteps had returned, but she never saw the alien again. It was like a ghost coming close, but never entering. In the middle of the night, she heard breathing, not her own, not near her. She opened her eyes slowly. The alien was standing at the entrance of her shelter. It didn't move, just watched her sleep. She sat up quickly, afraid again, but the alien didn't come closer. Instead, it dropped something on the ground, a strange glowing fruit, the size of her fist. Then it turned and walked into the night. Alara picked up the fruit, confused. Was this a gift, a warning, or a test? She didn't eat it. Not yet, but something had changed. She was not alone anymore. The next morning, she followed the alien's tracks. They led her to a small stream, clean water, cold and clear. The alien was sitting across the water, watching her again. It didn't speak, and neither did she, but she nodded. And the alien blinked slowly, like it understood. They sat in silence for hours, both trying to understand each other without words. Then, a loud roar echoed across the desert. Something huge moved in the distance, massive and fast. The alien stood up quickly and motioned for her to run. Alara didn't argue. They ran together, back toward the shelter. Whatever that thing was, it was hunting, and it wasn't alone. They made it back just in time. Inside the shelter, they sat, breathing hard. Alara looked at the alien. It was hurt. A cut on its arm oozed blue liquid. She carefully reached out, pressing a cloth on the wound. The alien didn't flinch. It just stared at her hand, like it was something strange and beautiful. That night, the shelter shook with distant growls, but the alien stayed, sitting near the door, watching, protecting. Alara finally fell asleep, exhausted. When she woke up, the alien was still there. But something was different. Its hand was glowing, and so was her necklace. A small light blinked inside the crystal near her chest. She didn't know what it meant, but she knew this was only the beginning. Something strange was happening, something that would change her life forever. Alara did not remember falling asleep, but she woke up to warmth on her face. One of the suns was rising, casting a golden light over the sand. The shelter was quiet, but she was not alone. The alien was still there, sitting with its back to It hadn't moved all night. Its body shimmered softly under the sunlight. There was peace in its silence, but questions filled the air like dust. Alara slowly sat up, her muscles sore. Her eyes went to the glowing fruit from last night. She hadn't eaten since the crash. Her stomach growled, but she hesitated. She looked at the alien, then back at the fruit. Was it safe? Was it a test? Was it the beginning of something more? She took a bite. The taste was strange sweet, sharp, and then warm. She felt a small wave of energy rush through her chest. Not fear, but life. For the first time since the crash, she felt awake. The alien turned and watched her closely, its glowing eyes locked on hers. Then it did something she didn't expect. It mimicked her, holding an invisible fruit, pretending to eat, like it was learning her. Alara smiled for the first time in days. The barrier between them was thin now, but survival was still a heavy cloud above their heads. They stepped outside the shelter. The planet was waking up too. Insects clicked inside rocks. Plants curled in the wind. Something moved in the sky, like a giant bird with metal wings, but it vanished before they could see clearly. They needed more food and clean water. The stream from yesterday was their only hope. Alara pointed toward the tracks, and the alien nodded. They moved together, silent, alert. Strangers with the same fear. The walk was long, and the sun was cruel. Alara covered her head with ship fabric. The alien didn't seem to need protection. Its skin glowed brighter the hotter it got. Suddenly, they heard a loud thud. The ground shook, just once. Then silence again. Alara froze, and the alien raised its hand, signaling her to stay still. From behind a cracked rock, a creature crawled out. It had 6 legs, black skin, and no eyes. It sniffed the air with a mouth full of blades. Alara didn't move, not even to breathe. But the alien stepped forward and made a low, strange hum. The creature paused, tilted its head, then backed away, disappearing into the dust. Alara stared in shock. The alien had just saved her life without touching the beast. Somehow it controlled sound, used it like a weapon or a warning. By the time they reached the stream, Alara's lips were dry and cracked. She drank quickly, splashing water on her face. The alien stood still, scanning the skies. It was always watching, always listening, like it knew danger better than she did. They found more of the glowing fruit near the water. Alara picked a few and filled a bag from the ship. When she turned around, she saw something behind the alien. A strange mark on the rock, a spiral, carved deep into stone. Not natural, not random. Someone had been here before. Alara touched it, and her necklace glowed again. The alien noticed and walked over, placing its hand on the symbol. Suddenly, the spiral pulsed with light, and the rock began to shift. A small entrance opened leading underground. Cool air rushed out, and soft blue lights flickered inside. Alara stepped back, unsure, but the alien walked in without fear. She followed, heart racing, hands shaking. What was this place? Was it built by the alien's kind, or something older? Inside was a small chamber, walls covered in symbols, floating. Orbs hovered in the air, casting soft light. One of the orbs moved closer and stopped in front of Alara. It blinked once, then projected a hologram. Images appeared: planets, stars, fire, destruction. An alien world being destroyed by war or disease. Alara looked at the alien, and for the first time, she saw pain in its eyes. It had lost something. Maybe everything, and now it was here with her. Not by choice, but by fate. The alien walked to a wall and touched it. The room dimmed, and one final image appeared. A figure half human, half glowing like the alien. Standing in the same place Alara stood now. She didn't understand it fully, but she felt the meaning deep in her chest. This was not just survival. This was a beginning. The chamber lights faded, and they stepped back into the daylight. Dust swirled around them, the air heavier than before. The sky rumbled again, and this time the alien looked afraid. Something was coming. Something worse than the crash, and they had to face it together. The planet was whispering to her, not in words, not in sound, but in a strange feeling deep inside her bones. Ilara stood outside the hidden chamber, holding her breath. She didn't know why she felt dizzy, but the air around her was different now. It felt alive. It felt aware. The alien stood beside her, silent, glowing faintly under the fading sun. It didn't touch her, didn't speak, but she could feel it, like its thoughts were brushing against her skin. She tried to shake the feeling, but when she looked into its eyes, something clicked, like a key turning inside her mind. A sudden flash of memory that wasn't hers, stars, burning skies, and a voice that wasn't human calling out in pain. Ilara stumbled back, gasping. What was that? She whispered. The alien stepped forward slowly and reached out its hand. Not to touch, just to show peace. She hesitated, then placed her hand near his, not touching, just close. And then it happened again. A wave of images rushed through her mind. Not just sights, but feelings. The fear of the crash, the loneliness, the grief of losing a home. The alien had not just lost a planet, it had lost its people. Ilara's eyes filled with tears. She wasn't alone in her pain anymore. Neither was it. The two of them stood in silence, connected by something stronger than words. A bond had formed, one that didn't need language. She didn't know how or why, but they could feel each other now. Thoughts, emotions, even memories, like they were sharing a single heart. As night fell, Ilara sat near the shelter's small fire. The alien brought more glowing fruit and placed them gently beside her. Then it sat down across from her. They stared at the flames, letting the silence speak for them. After a while, the alien stood and walked a few steps away, then turned and began to draw in the sand using a glowing crystal. Lines, shapes, symbols, a circle with 2 stars inside, a figure with light in its chest, another with 2 hearts. Ilara watched carefully. She began to understand. The alien wasn't just stranded here. It had come from a world where life and light were one, where beings shared thoughts the way humans shared stories. And now, part of that was inside her. She touched her necklace. It glowed again, responding to the alien's drawings. A soft pulse traveled through her skin. Her heartbeat changed rhythm, slower, deeper. She felt warm, calm, and full, like something was growing, not just inside her body but inside her spirit. Suddenly the wind changed. A low howl echoed across the sand. The alien stood alert. Ilara felt it too, a vibration in the ground. They weren't alone tonight. Dark shapes moved in the distance. Eyes glowed red between the rocks. Predators, not animals, something worse. The alien stepped in front of her, arms out, glowing brighter. It began to hum low, deep, almost musical. The sound vibrated through the air, making the creatures stop. They snarled, hissed, but didn't come closer. Then Ilara did something strange. She joined the sound. Her voice followed the hum, matching its rhythm. She didn't know how she knew the tune, but it was in her head now, passed from the alien's mind into hers. The creatures backed away, confused. Then they vanished into the night. Silence returned. The alien turned toward her, shocked. She had connected, truly connected. Not just mentally, but through song, through energy, through something older than both of them. They sat together again, this time closer. Ilara looked at her hands. They were still human, but something felt different. She wasn't changing on the outside, but something inside her had already begun. She closed her eyes and saw stars, but they weren't in the sky. They were in her blood. She could feel the alien watching her, not with fear, but with wonder. They were 2 souls lost, broken, and now somehow healing together. But the planet had other plans. In the distance, the ground cracked open slightly, and something deep below shifted, watching, waiting. The bond had been made, and nothing could undo it now. She woke up crying, but they were not her tears. They were his. Ilara sat up suddenly, her breath shaking. Her skin was cold. Her heart was racing. The dream had been too real. Not a dream, a memory. She had seen a world dying, a sky burning, and she had felt a voice calling for help. But it wasn't her voice. It was the alien's. She looked beside her. He was already awake, sitting with his hands on the ground, his head lowered, glowing softly, like he had seen the same dream too. Maybe he had. Maybe they were dreaming together now. Her body felt strange, heavy and light at the same time. She touched her chest. Her necklace was warm, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Not hers, a new one. She stood up and nearly fell. The alien caught her quickly, holding her by the arms. But when their skin touched, a wave of heat shot through her. She gasped and looked down at her hands. Something shimmered under the skin, tiny golden veins glowing faintly. She backed away, confused. "What's happening to me?" she whispered. The alien didn't answer with words. Instead, it gently reached out and placed its hand near her stomach. Alara froze. She felt something, not pain, not sickness, something else. A small, gentle pulse from inside her body. A second heartbeat. "No," she said under her breath. But she already knew the truth. This wasn't just a connection. This was creation. Life was growing inside her, not fully human, not fully alien, something new. She fell to her knees, confused, afraid. Tears ran down her cheeks. The alien knelt beside her, watching quietly, not forcing, not explaining, just being there. They sat like that for a long time. Two creatures from different worlds, bound by something bigger than both of them. Later that day, the wind changed again. Dark clouds gathered quickly in the sky. The planet was angry. Lightning cracked across the horizon. They had to find shelter, fast. The alien led her toward the underground chamber again. But this time, the walls responded to her touch too. Doors opened with a soft sound. Lights blinked where she walked. The chamber recognized her now. She sat down in the center, weak and tired. Her body was hot, like fire was running through her blood. The alien placed both hands beside her. He began to hum again. But this time, it was softer, gentler. Like a lullaby for something waiting to be born. Alara closed her eyes, and in the silence of the chamber, she heard it. A voice inside her head, not the alien's, not her own, something in between. Something small, curious, alive. She was scared, but not of the life inside her. She was scared of what came next. What kind of world would this child be born into? Was she still human? Would Earth ever accept what she was becoming? The alien stood and walked to a glowing panel. He placed his hand on it and showed her a new vision. Not a memory, a future. A child standing on the same planet. But the world around them was green, full of life. The skies were clear, the air was light. The child looked like her, but with glowing eyes. The alien stood behind the child, and so did she, older, wiser, not afraid anymore. The vision faded. Alara sat in silence. For the first time since the crash, she didn't feel lost, she felt chosen. The storm outside grew louder. Thunder shook the walls. The planet was testing them, but they were not running this time. The alien sat beside her again. Their shoulders touched. No fear, no distance, only warmth. Alara looked at him. She still didn't know his name. Maybe he didn't have one, but now he was part of her, and she was part of him, and inside her, something powerful was growing, a bridge between two worlds, a heartbeat that would one day change the universe. But outside, in the dark sands and screaming winds, something ancient had awoken, something watching from deep underground. The planet had given them a gift, but it never gave anything for free. She was not dreaming, she was floating, above her body, above the alien, above the planet. But she could still feel everything. The wind across her skin, the rhythm of two hearts beating inside her, and voices, so many voices, but none of them used words. They spoke through light, through color, through emotion. Alara opened her eyes, gasping for air. She was back in the chamber, lying on the cold floor. The alien was beside her, glowing brighter than ever. Its hands rested gently near her face, and behind it, the walls of the chamber pulsed like a living thing. She sat up slowly, confused. "What's happening to me?" she whispered. The alien's thoughts touched hers again. This time, the connection was clearer, stronger. And with it came understanding. She wasn't sick, she wasn't broken, she was evolving. The planet had chosen her, not by accident, but with purpose. Alara stood up, her legs shaking. The chamber reacted to her movement, lighting the floor beneath her feet. Symbols on the wall shifted and rearranged themselves. A projection appeared, this time clearer than ever. It showed a timeline, a war in the stars, a dying race, and a final plan: to leave behind a seed. On a living planet, a new hope, not in machines, but in life itself. Her body, her human DNA, had been the missing part. The aliens' energy had activated what was left behind. Together, they had created something that had never existed before. Ilara's heart beat faster. The baby inside her wasn't just a child, it was a bridge between species, between galaxies, between past and future. She turned to the alien, her voice soft. This child was meant to be. The alien bowed its head slowly. Its thoughts gently confirmed the truth. But with truth came fear. Alara touched her stomach, feeling the quiet hum of life inside. What would happen when the child was born? Would she survive? It would the alien. Would the planet allow it? A deep rumble echoed through the ground. Dust fell from the chamber walls. The alien stood quickly, alarmed. Something had shifted below. The ancient systems were waking up. The chamber showed one more image. A massive structure deep beneath the planet, buried under sand and stone, dormant. But watching, the alien pointed to the image, then to her. She understood. It wasn't just about the child. It was about what the child would trigger: a signal, a rebirth, or a warning. Suddenly, the walls went dark. The chamber closed around them with a loud hiss. The exit sealed shut. Alara turned in panic. But the alien placed a calming hand on her shoulder. They were safe for now. A hidden panel opened behind them, revealing a narrow path, lit by soft blue lights. They walked down slowly, each step taking them deeper into the heart of the planet. The air grew warmer. The walls began to glow with symbols, stories of other visitors, other failures. None had made it this far. None had survived the bonding, until now. At the end of the path was a small round room. In the center stood a single stone platform. Floating above it was a glowing orb. Inside it they saw the child, not as it was now, but as it could become. The vision showed a being of light and form. A child who could walk among humans and aliens, who could speak in thoughts and lead without war. A future leader, a being of peace. Tears filled Ilara's eyes again. She had never wanted to be a mother, never believed in fate. But now she was both a carrier and a key. The alien stepped forward and touched the orb. Its energy flowed into the vision, and Alara felt the child inside her respond. With warmth, with light, with love. But far below, something ancient stirred again. The systems of the planet had accepted her, but others had not. Others were still sleeping, waiting. Not all were peaceful. The truth was clear now. This child was not just a symbol, it was a trigger. And when it was born, the whole planet would awaken, for better or for destruction. Asterisk. The stars were falling. Not from the sky, but from her eyes. Alara stood alone outside the chamber, looking up at a sky that didn't belong to her. Flashes of light danced above the clouds, red, blue, and gold. Something had awakened in the planet's core, and now the sky was answering. She placed a hand over her stomach. The heartbeat inside her was stronger now, so was the glow in her veins. She could feel the child moving, stretching, growing, not like a human baby. Faster, brighter, alive in a different way. But something was wrong. She could feel it. The alien, her protector, her connection was weakening. Inside the chamber, he sat still. His glow had faded to a pale silver. His breath was slower. His eyes dim. Alara ran to him, panic in her voice. "What's happening to you?" He didn't speak. But she heard the truth in her mind. His life force was being transferred to the child, to her. Alara fell to her knees, shaking her head. "No, I didn't ask for this. But he just watched her calmly, like he had known this all along. The connection they had built wasn't just emotional. It was biological, spiritual, cosmic. He had given her everything, his energy, his strength, and now he was fading. She placed her hands on his chest. The hum of his energy was weak, but still there. She tried to give something back, her warmth, her voice, her will, but the planet wouldn't allow it. It was feeding the child and draining the father. Outside, the ground cracked. A massive storm was forming, purple clouds twisting like a vortex. Lightning flashed not just across the sky but from the ground up. The planet was unstable. It could feel the child's power, and it was afraid. Alara stood and looked around. She knew they couldn't stay here, but there was nowhere to run. No escape pod, no signal. Just broken metal and crumbling sand still. She wouldn't let him die like this. She grabbed parts from the ship wires, crystal panels, fragments of memory drives. She returned to the chamber and began building. Not a machine, not a weapon, but a cocoon. The chamber seemed to understand her intention. The floor opened slightly, revealing ancient tech bioenergy roots. Glowing vines and floating minerals. She combined them with her parts, piece by piece, her hands trembling but steady. The alien watched her. His light flickered. But in his mind, he sent her something, a vision of the child, laughing, running, speaking in both their voices, alive. "I won't let you fade," she said, and placed him inside the cocoon. It closed slowly, wrapping him in light, not a tomb, but a seed for rebirth. The storm hit just as the cocoon sealed. Winds roared across the planet. Sand flew like knives. The shelter collapsed, the ground split. But Alara stood strong, holding her stomach, holding her future. The pain hit her neck deep and sharp. She screamed, falling to the ground. The child was coming. Not like a human birth, but as light. The planet shook violently, but the chamber protected her. A dome formed overhead, blocking the storm. Inside, she glowed. The necklace on her chest exploded with light, and the child entered the world, not with cries, but with a silent hum, a sound that made the chamber rise, made the vines bloom, made the planet breathe again. Alara held the glowing child in her arms, tiny, soft, but full of light. Its eyes opened, silver and gold, and it looked at her, not like a baby, but like something ancient and new. Tears ran down her face. She looked at the cocoon. Still sealed, still glowing, still alive. She whispered to it, "I kept my promise." But deep below, the planet's core opened once more. Something darker had awakened, drawn by the child's birth, by its power, and now it was coming. The planet was no longer silent. It was singing, not with voices, but with wind, with light, with life. Alara stood at the edge of a valley she had never seen before. It was green, alive. Where there had once been dust and broken rocks, now flowers bloomed. The child lay sleeping in her arms, glowing faintly, breathing softly, safe. Behind her, the cocoon still pulsed with light. He was in there resting, healing. His energy now part of the world, part of their child. 3 days had passed since the birth. The storms had ended. The ground had stopped shaking. The planet had changed. And so had she. Alara was not just a survivor now. She was a mother, a symbol. The beginning of something the universe had never seen before. Each morning, the child woke up with eyes full of light. It didn't cry. It hummed. The same hum the alien had once used to calm storms and creatures. Only now, it was stronger, more controlled. Even the air around it shimmered when it smiled. Alara had stopped feeling afraid. The connection between her and the child was deeper than thought. She didn't just hear its needs. She felt them inside her bones. The child was learning fast. Not from books, but from her soul. One morning, while feeding the child a glowing fruit, she heard a sound in the sky, not thunder, engines. She looked up and saw them. Ships, Earthships. They had finally come. The beacon must have reactivated after the storm. She stood tall, holding her child close. Her heart raced. Would they understand? Would they take her back? Would they take the child? The ships landed slowly in the sand. Dust clouds swirled as figures in armor stepped out, guns raised, eyes wide. They had seen the glowing valley. They had scanned the strange signals. And now they were looking at her. And at the child, one of... The soldier stepped forward. He didn't speak at first. He just stared at the baby in her arms. "What is that?" he finally asked. Ilara looked down, then back at him. "This is my son," she said calmly. "He was born here." The soldier hesitated, then slowly lowered his weapon. The others followed. Another man walked out, an older scientist with kind eyes. He approached carefully. You bonded with it." Ilara nodded. She said, "Him." The scientist scanned the child with a trembling hand. The readings were impossible energy levels, beyond any human range. No disease, no flaws, no fear, only balance. Man looked at her. "You've created something new." She shook her head gently. "No, the planet did." The child opened his glowing eyes, and for a moment, everyone felt it. A wave of calm, of peace, of quiet understanding. One of the soldiers whispered, "I think." "It spoke to me," Ilara smiled. "He speaks in feelings." They offered to take her back, to study the child, to test him, but she refused. "This is our home now," she said. "We were born here, and so was he." The planet had accepted them, grown with them. It wasn't just a world anymore. It was a guardian, a cradle. Before the ships left, she gave them something, a recording from the chamber, the story of what happened. The crash, the bonding, the birth, the sacrifice. She asked for one thing. "Don't return with weapons. Return when you're ready to listen." The ships left quietly, and Ilara stood at the top of the hill, watching the sky. The child curled against her chest, eyes closed, humming softly. Beside her, the cocoon pulsed again. A crack formed, small, glowing. He was still alive. And one day, he would return. Together, they would raise the child. Together, they would protect this world, and maybe, one day, share it.